When 15,000 people pay nearly $700 each for a preseason basketball game, you know something extraordinary is happening. The return of Caitlin Clark to Iowa wasn't just a game. It was a cultural moment that's redefining women's sports.
That's such an interesting point about the economics of this moment. The average ticket price of $670 wasn't just breaking records. It was shattering expectations about what women's basketball can command.
Well, let's paint this picture in more detail. Hours before tip-off, the scene outside Carver Hawkeye Arena looked more like a championship game than a preseason matchup. You had families camping out, kids skipping school, people driving across multiple states just to be there.
And when they finally got inside, the decibel level hit 117 when Clark was introduced. That's literally louder than a jet engine at takeoff.
You know what's fascinating about that noise level? It wasn't just excitement. It was this deep, emotional response from thousands of people who felt like they were witnessing something historic. And then came that shot in the third quarter.
36 feet from the exact same spot where she broke Kelsey Plum's scoring record. The symmetry of that moment was almost poetic.
But here's what really gets me about that shot. It wasn't just the distance or the accuracy. It was the statement. When she pointed afterward, that wasn't showboating. That was Clark saying, "This is who I am, and this is what I do."
So, what do you make of her physical evolution? Because she looked noticeably stronger out there.
Well, that's actually one of the most interesting developments. She's clearly been putting in serious work in the weight room. There was this one play in the second quarter where she took contact that would have sent her flying last year, but she just powered through and finished.
And somehow she's maintained all that quickness and agility while adding the strength. That's not an easy balance to strike.
Speaking of balance, let's talk about how this Fever team looked as a complete unit. Kelsey Mitchell put up 17 points with 4 threes and 3 steals. But it wasn't just the numbers. It was how perfectly her game complemented Clark's.
And then there's Aaliyah Boston, who might be the real key to making this all work. 11 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. But those numbers don't tell the whole story.
You're right. The chemistry between Boston and Clark was incredible. There was this one pass where Clark threaded the needle between 2 defenders to hit Boston in stride. That pass had maybe 2 inches of clearance on either side.
That's exactly the kind of play that makes you rewind the footage multiple times just to figure out how she saw it.
But let's zoom out for a second and talk about what this means for the WNBA as a whole. We're seeing record-breaking attendance, unprecedented ticket prices, and social media engagement that's off the charts.
And all of this for a preseason game. It really makes you wonder what the regular season is going to look like.
Well, here's something to consider. The Fever forced 26 turnovers and held Brazil to single digits in 2 quarters. That's not just good defense. That's championship-level execution.
The way Coach Stephanie White has this team playing together is remarkable. Every high five, every celebration, every joke on the bench, it all felt genuine.
And that's what makes this story so compelling. It's not just about Clark joining the Fever. It's about how this team is building something special, something that could reshape the landscape of professional women's basketball.
The energy in that arena really felt like a turning point, didn't it? Like we were watching the start of a new era.
Exactly. And when Clark finally checked out of the game and 15,000 people stood up, that wasn't just a standing ovation for one player. That was an acknowledgement that women's basketball has entered a new phase.
Well, what do you think this means for the future of the sport?
Look, we've seen hyped rookies before. We've seen great teams before. But this feels different. The combination of Clark's transcendent talent, Boston's dominance, Mitchell's scoring, and the team's chemistry. It's creating something we haven't seen before.
And the way the fans are responding shows that this isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about cultural impact.
The really exciting part? This is just the beginning. If this is what a preseason game looks like, imagine what's coming when the games actually count. The Fever aren't just building for the future, they're ready now.
And the rest of the WNBA better be ready too. Because what we saw in Iowa wasn't just a homecoming. It was a warning shot.
You know what's going to be fascinating to watch? How other teams respond to this. Because the Fever have essentially created a blueprint for how to build a team that's both competitive and compelling.
And they've shown that when you combine the right talent with the right system and the right marketing, the ceiling for women's basketball is higher than anyone imagined.
The game is evolving right before our eyes. And what happened in Iowa isn't just a moment, it's a movement. The future of women's basketball isn't just bright, it's blinding.